darn it. Tape. Wait a minute. Ah. Ah. Oh, hi everybody. Just trying to get all this darn Scotch tape off my fingers, and oh man, I got all over the place, all over my face, and oh my goodness, over here, and get it off my outfit here. Oh, what's going on with all this Scotch tape? Ah. Bundle it up in a ball, you can never get rid of it. Ah. Ah. Ah, Scotch tape, so much fun. Ah, go away, go away. Whew. That's enough of that Scotch tape stuff. Okay, back to reality, folks. I'm here. Do I have any more tape on me and stuff? All right, folks. Well, I am finally doing it. I'm doing my, what do you want to call it? My AA, my Knock-A-Non, whatever, Alcoholics Anonymous has it. But I'm going to have Tapes Anonymous, Scotch Tape Anonymous video right now, whatever you want to call it. Okay, no, folks, I'm having a little fun, but I am going to show some Beatle records here and have some fun with you today. I want to thank Joe, my friend Joe, Mean Mr. Mayo. He kind of gave me the inspiration and the impetus to do this video. He kind of made a little, I think it was a silly request. I don't know if he was serious or not, but he said, I want to see Matt do a video about his Scotch tape obsession. So I figured, you know, why not? The fest is coming up in a couple of days. I said, let me get one more video out there before the fest, because I intend to do a video at the fest. And so I wanted to do a little Scotch tape video for you. And this is going to be called, maybe I'll call it Scotch Taping the Beatles, or Scotch Tape Beatles, or something like that. Anyway, folks, you all, if you've been a viewer of my channel for any length of time, you've watched certain videos of mine where I talk about albums I got as a kid, my beginnings with the Beatles and discovering their music and the joy of being a Beatles fan. And part of that, if you've watched my videos, you know that there are certain ones where I show you some of my old records that have been Scotch taped. And what I mean by that is, for some strange reason, I went through a period when I was a kid getting Beatles albums that I thought I needed to protect them. I mean, this is before the period of, you know, maybe it wasn't before the period, but before we had poly record sleeves, you know, the plastic little, I got some 45 ones here, you know, these little plastic protective sleeves that you can put on 45s or on 33 1/3 vinyl. Well, they may have been around then, but when I was a little kid, I didn't have access to them or have them. I just, you know, you got your records, you ripped the shrink wrap off, you didn't care about the shrink wrap, and you just kept the record in your collection and carried it around with you, and it got beat up and dinged and scratched, and who cared, right? You didn't even think about it, the condition of it. Well, I got this wild idea when I was a kid that I was going to protect my records with Scotch taping the edges of the records, and somehow that nice pristine clear Scotch tape is, when it's first laid out, is very clear, as you can see, and when it goes onto the record, it almost, you press it on, it almost becomes invisible to protect those bindings, keep them together from splitting. But what happens over a period of time, as we all know, you know, different, you know, the nature takes its course, so to speak, and that Scotch tape doesn't remain pristine and supple and moist and clear. It turns kind of dry, cracks, it flakes, it turns yellow and brown, and it looks like heck. All right, we all know that. So anyway, I thought I'd have some fun. I went, and I don't know if I dug up all my original Beatles collection here, but I have most of them. I think I found most of them for you. So I thought I'd show them to you and have a little fun with you. And what I've discovered is I did not Scotch tape all my original records. Remember, I said I first started getting Beatles records in 1964, and you can go back to my way first video, the one where I look like a deer in the headlights. Go back over 2 years ago. It's still up, my very first video, and I talk about my tribute to Meet the Beatles and the fact that it was like the first album my parents ever gave to me as a young boy in 1964, and how I used to bounce on my toy spring horse to the Beatles and A Hard Day's Night and Meet the Beatles. These were the two first. This was the first, and this was the second Beatles album that my parents gave me. Now, these aren't the originals. You can go back to that first video to see the story about it. Those originals are long destroyed, scratched, gone in the mist of time. I think I still have the original vinyl of Meet the Beatles. I think I showed it to you in that video, and it's pretty beat up without a cover, without a sleeve, but I keep it for posterity. But I did replace what I did have with these originals. These are original pressings from 1964. These are my first 2 Beatle albums from my parents. Now, several years went by before I started getting Beatles records again. I think those are my go-to albums, Meet the Beatles and A Hard Day's Night, until maybe 4 years later or so. It wasn't until about 68 or 69 when I was still a young boy, like 7 or 8 years old, maybe 8 years old, and I started getting Beatles records again from my parents. They started giving me Beatles albums. Remember, I told you in some of my videos about some of these albums. And so here's some of them. And what I figured out, folks, is that I only Scotch taped during that early period. Meaning, like, it was that period from around 68 or so up till like 71 or 72 when I was taping albums. Because as you can see, well, I don't have it up here, but all the ones I got in the mid-70s, like this is my original Rock and Roll Music, that's my original Love Songs, that's my original Hollywood Bowl. Those do not have Scotch tape on them. I was not taping at that point in the mid to late 70s. And I also have my Red and Blue album, my original Red and Blue album from 73. They are not Scotch taped, okay? So I'm figuring that everything I got between like 68 and maybe 71 or 72, they got Scotch taped. And there's only about 7 or 8 of them. I'm going to show them to you. Everything after that, which I'm going to show you right now, is not Scotch taped, okay? These are the later ones I got in the early 70s. So my original Let It Be, not Scotch taped. And I was getting better with taking care of my records because I even have a few of my originals that still have the shrink wrap and the store sticker on them, so I can confirm they're my originals, and they're still all on the Apple label, except for one, and I'll tell you about that one. All right, here's my original Beatles second album, still in the shrink wrap, as you can see, and still has the store sticker on it. I took care of that one pretty good on the Apple label. Here's my original Something New, still in the shrink wrap, still with the store label, price tag, I should say, and on the Apple label. My Rubber Soul original does not have a store price tag on it, but it is still in the shrink, as you can see. Still in the shrink wrap, and it is on the Apple label. So it's from that period. Now, remember I said my last 2 Beatles albums, well, the last one I got, remember we were talking about Rock and Roll Music and how in 76 I thought Got to Get You Into My Life was a new Beatles song and all that stuff. You can go back to that video. But my last 2 records, funnily enough, are both from 1966. My final 2 Beatles records that I got, and they were not until 1977. One was in early 77 and one was later in the year. I think the first one I got was this one, which is on the Apple label. But then my final album to complete my Beatles collection of all the US releases was this one, Revolver. My original Revolver is still in the shrink wrap, and what I discovered, it's the only one out of my entire collection of Beatles records I acquired, like from 68 onward, that's not on the Apple label. This is on the orange Capitol label. So this was the final one to complete my Beatles collection, hence why I didn't know a lot of the songs on this album until 77, and why Got to Get You Into My Life seemed so new and fresh to me at the time. Okay, so that was the later period, okay? What I've determined is here are the ones from that Scotch tape period, okay? The old Scotch tape period in my life. And here they are, okay? We have Magical Mystery Tour, which I'm not going to try to take it out of this paper here because it's, believe it or not, the old tape is still kind of sticky and sticking to it a little bit. It's a mess, okay? It's a mess, folks. What am I going to do? But you can see, if you can see it, there is Scotch tape on it. It has turned yellow, but since the Magical Mystery Tour cover is kind of yellow already, you really can't see it. You can see it kind of go down there. You can see it's browning, the browning tape on it. But, yeah, I was pretty bad with this, folks. Let me see if I can get it out of here for you, but it's kind of, yeah, I think the tape is still causing havoc with this. I don't know what to do with it, folks. Maybe I should cover it with lacquer or something, or put something on. I don't know what to do with it, folks. It's like I can't get it out of the poly bag. It's like the tape has adhered itself to the inner plastic sleeve now. So anyway, I can't take it out, folks. I don't know what to do. I'll have to figure something out. I'll have to cut this off or something. But then what do? Put it back in another bag and it's just going to stick again? So, you know, woe is me. What am I going to do? So that was my Magical Mystery Tour I taped up. What a mess that is. Okay, you've seen this one, and this one is not stuck to the poly sleeve. Here's my original Beatles 6 with brown tape. So here's my Scotch tape. There you go. All right. Again, I'm not going to take these all out like this, folks, but I just want to show you. So that's number 2. I have 2 of them with tape. There's my other one. And, of course, I told you about getting the Beatles story very early, and there's the Scotch tape on it. See it? I taped up my Beatles story. And the funny thing is about it is the covers have outlasted the tape. I did not need to tape these things up because the covers look pretty good, don't they? But then look at the tape. It's all brown. So, I mean, you know, a little kid, you're 8, 9, 10 years old, 11 maybe. You know, I just didn't know what I was doing, folks. Okay, I was out of control with the tape. I thought I was preserving and keeping my records safe and preventing the cardboard from splitting, but lo and behold, you know, it just ends up being kind of a running gag now with me that I was the tape nut here. Here's my original Hey Jude. Remember, this was the first one. If you go back to my Hey Jude tribute video, I talk all about it. This was the first album I bought on my own with my mom in the store with my own like money. I wanted it in 1970. And when it first came out, and here's the tape. There you go. Got to show you the tape. So anyway, that's my Hey Jude. A little beat up. It is beat up. And Apple label, but I keep it, like I say, for posterity and collectible reasons. It has a little sentimental value to me. All these records do. I would probably never play any of these original records of mine, but I keep them, like I say, because of the nostalgia. Okay, I've showed you this one in one of my videos. This is my my early Beatles. Here's the tape. You know, you say, what's the obsession with the tape? And Joe asked me, I want to know Matt's obsession with this Scotch tape. All I can tell you, like thinking back on it, is it was just a kid thinking he was protecting his records. That's all it was. There was good intentions behind the Scotch tape, believe me. You saw this one recently in my most recent video about Beatles 65. There's the yellow tape on there. It was just, you know, it wasn't any ill intent, folks. It was just trying to protect the albums and thinking I was doing the right thing. But lo and behold, obviously it wasn't, you know. But we get a laugh about it now, and I get a kick out of it. So anyway, this is the creme de la creme, because this one's a mess. Because it really shows up on this one. Here is my original white album. It's on the Apple label, but however, because I think I got it a little later, I don't have the original, you know, the serial numbers, the numbers on it. But the Beatles is embossed. So it's an early pressing, but it's not an original pressing. Maybe the second or third pressing, I'm not sure. Maybe some of you can help me. And I can tell you something else. There's no number on it. The Beatles is embossed. And the cover is more of a, it's not really a high gloss finish. It's more of a satin white finish. Kind of a dull white, if you know what I mean. You know how the original ones almost had like that high gloss type feel to them and shine. This one doesn't. It's more of a satin finish. So maybe you can tell me, when would that have been? 69, 70, maybe 71? I don't know. But it is on Apple. And look at the tape job. It's just horrid. It's just terrible, folks. I mean, this in the back here, it's like all falling off and stuff. It's so dry and out. Look at this. Look at the tape coming off it. Scotch tape from almost 50 years ago, folks. Look at it. What a mess. And I think I even did the inside. I was like, oh, I gotta have it run right down the middle of the binding, so you'll see that. This is like the worst one. Look at that. Tragic, folks, huh? Isn't that a tragedy? Don't you want to grab me by both shoulders and shake me? Cut me some slack. You know, this was a little kid, maybe 10, 11 years old, doing this stuff. But I love the Beatles so much, I even hung up the poster, and you can see my poster's all covered with tape. Look, It's just a mess. Look at the bottom here. I must have hung and took it down about 10 times. So many tape marks and rips in it. And oh my goodness, look at that. That's terrible. It's horrible. But you know what? It's kind of, in a way, it's got its little charm to it now, all these years, decades later, that this was my original White Album given to me by my parents. And it kind of brings me back to being that little kid hanging these pictures on the wall. Yeah, Ringo's got he's got some tape scuffs there from years of hanging on my walls when I was a kid and then taking it down again. That's my original Ringo. My original Paul. He still has some tape remnants on the corner there. Look at, oh, what a mess. George, yeah, he's got some tape on him. You can see it on George's. There's a little bit of tape there. Actually, George's is held up pretty well. It's still pretty invisible and clear. And John, I really must have hung his up and taken it down many times because he's lost some color in his picture down here from the tape being ripped off. Look at, you can see where the Scotch tape actually went right across, hanging on my walls. Oh man, what a mess. This little tape mark on the back there. So, you know, I look back on this, folks, and now, and I can kind of laugh about it now, but I have to tell you, there was a few years ago, I was really bummed out about the condition of my original albums. Thankfully, I've kind of replaced most of my original albums with better condition, you know, better quality albums and more upgrades, and have really good I have a really full American set now that's in great shape, so I'm happy with that. But I like to kind of pull these out every once in a while and laugh about it and say, yeah, what was I thinking back then using the Scotch tape? I mean, just one of those crazy things I did as a kid, folks, and let's hope I never do something like that again or get the need to go back to Scotch taping things, okay? So, goodbye Scotch tape. No more on my Beatles records. Thanks to Joe for giving me the idea to do this little video for you to have a little fun, okay? I can laugh at myself and take a joke, so you want to pick on me for the Scotch tape, go for it. I can take it. Thanks again, folks. God bless and have a great day. Bye-bye.